But now we do it with $0 out of pocket. So we've refined the process, made every mistake in the book, and essentially learned what not to do.
Welcome to Unstoppable Real Estate Investing Wealth. My name is Billy Alvaro, aka the Unstoppable BA, former billion-dollar mortgage banker, gone bankrupt, turned professional real estate investor, where each week you'll learn the tools, strategies, systems, and secrets myself and other highly successful real estate investing entrepreneurs use to start, grow, and scale their businesses, creating massive profits, and how you can too. And we'll teach you how to put those profits to work so you no longer have to. Get ready to finally experience financial freedom and generational wealth. Now let's get started.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the episode of REI, Unstoppable REI Wealth. I'm your host, Billy Alvaro, the Unstoppable BA, and you know from the intro, we're here to deliver value. We're going to teach you guys some of the insights for myself and my guests, how we start, grow, and scale. We're going to give you guys tools, tips, tricks, strategies, and secrets. And today, I am just blessed to have this guy. And this guy is known as having one of the biggest, brightest smiles in the industry. Name is David Dodge. There it is. Big D, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Billy, I'm doing awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me. Can't wait to jump in, provide a bunch of value to your audience, man.
Well, you're going to, bro. I've been, you and I met about 3 years ago now, I think, in multipliers.
Yeah, give or take. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about there. And look, you have that vibe. You have that drive where you're just an ambitious dude, always positive. Love you and I. We hang out, we rap, we just always get into it. So I'm like, thank you for coming on, dude. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. You have some really good shit that you're doing. Like, you've been in the industry for like 18 years, full time for the last 8. But for the last like 3-4 years, you've really been crushing this whole entire BRRRR method. Like, I want you to go in just a quick like 2-3 minute background, and then let's get into like how you're really doing what you're doing, because you're crushing it right now, bro.
Love it, man. Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet here for you, Billy. So yeah, like you said, 18 years I've been investing in real estate. But basically, Billy, I did it wrong for the first 10 years, man. So I'm 37 years old. I started when I was about 19 or 20. I was in college, and I bought my first house, at about 20 years old, and it was a house hacking, house. Found a property off the MLS, full retail, used an agent, put down 20%, which I didn't have. I borrowed it and got a loan for the other 80%.
Did you rent out bedrooms?
I'm sorry?
Did you rent out bedrooms?
I did. I was house hacking, rented out multiple bedrooms, lived in one. And while I was in college, I did that 3 times, actually. So, sophomore, junior, senior year, I'd buy a house, borrow money from friends and family to put the down payment, the 20%. And then I would go get a loan. And that was back in the day when you could get a loan in college, right? You didn't even necessarily have to have, a great job or anything along those lines. Long story short, though, Billy, over the next, 7-8 years out of college, basically all through my 20s, I was passively buying houses and renting them out. I was living in these houses in the beginning while I was in school, but after school, I was just buying properties to rent out. But that entire time, over 10 years, I acquired 12 houses. So I roughly bought 1 a year. But that entire time was full retail with an agent on the MLS, 80% loans.
Yep.
Right? About 7-8 years ago, at the age of 30, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go into this business full time. And I learned about wholesaling and direct to seller marketing and discounts, right? Buying properties at discounts, deep discounts. And, since then, I haven't paid retail for a property since. Done about 700 wholesale deals, done about 200 BRRRR deals, give or take. I'm thinking I'm at about 185, 190. So round that up to about 200 BRRRR deals. And like you had mentioned, the last 4 or 5 years of the 8 that I've been full time, I've been really refining, this process and learning how to do it. And now my partner, Mike, and I are doing multiple BRRRR deals at a time. And we've mastered it to where we're able to acquire these assets with little to no money. And really the goal for us is 0, right? We want to be all in for $0 in the end.
This is good, bro. So I want to reverse back when you first started doing the BRRRR. Like everybody, when they get into this business, I'm sure you made like a shit ton of mistakes. Let's dive into what you did wrong, right? Because there's going to be a lot of lessons on what you did wrong. and then we're going to go into how you started to scale this thing and what you're doing today.
I love it, man. So yeah, first 10 years I did it wrong. Let's start there. I was paying full retail, right?
Yeah.
I was putting down 20%, getting the loan. So the first 12 houses I bought took me 10 years, did them all wrong. I'm not upset because I acquired 10 rental properties and I still own, or 12 rental properties, and I still own probably about 7 or 8 of those to this day.
Nice.
But, when I went full time about 8 years ago, I realized, hey, there's a better way to buy. You can do direct to seller marketing. You can find distressed property owners. You can find distressed properties. And the holy grail is to find a property owner that's distressed, but also has a distressed house. So there's lots of distressed situations going on right there. And I learned that I can buy these properties at a discount. And when I first started out full time, I was just wholesaling. But I realized quickly after, I say quickly after, 2-3 years of just wholesaling, that I kind of got away from the original goal, which was to acquire rental properties. I had kind of taken a break for a couple of years and just started wholesaling. And then I realized, you know what, I need to kind of bring it back, start buying rentals again. But now that I know how to buy them at a discount, let's start looking into this whole method of, the BRRRR method. And when we first started doing that, Billy, we were leaving, 10, 12, 15,000 in a property. But that was still a win in my book, because in the beginning, when I was doing this, I was buying, like $150,000 properties, but you have to put down 20%. Well, that's 30K, right? So I went from 30K and leaving in, or having to put down in a property, to 10, 12, 15. And I'm like, man, this is way better, right?
Sure.
But now we do it with $0 out of pocket. So we've refined the process, made every mistake in the book, and essentially learned what not to do. Now we have anywhere from 5 to 15 of these going at any given time.
Damn.
And we're using the BRRRR method to acquire them with little to no money. Again, the goal is $0 out of pocket.
It's $0. Dave, I want you to dumb it down. If somebody's listening, they don't know what BRRRR stands for. What is the BRRRR method?
Absolutely. BRRRR is a strategy that will allow you to acquire assets, rental properties, with little to no money, and it's very scalable. So what is it? Well, it's B with 4 R's behind it, and that is an acronym. BRRRR is an acronym, and that acronym stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. Very simple.
I love it. I love it. Now I want you to take me in, because I'm curious to know, and I'm sure the listeners are too, how are you doing this with like none of your own money in the deals, especially in today's market? Like, how is this? How are you able to find the deals, and how are you able to construct it to where you're really in with little to none of your own cash?
100%, man, 100%. So it took me years and years and years to learn how to do this with none of my own money. And even if I have to leave like 1,000 or 2,000 in a property, like that's a huge win compared to leaving 30 grand in a property when I first started, right? So how do we do this strategy? Well, first and foremost, we have to buy properties at deep discounts, right? Minimum 20% discount in order for this strategy to work with none of your own money in the deal, right? Let's focus on none of our own money, not
20% off the current ARV, or off the current value, or off the ARV.
So we're always buying properties ARV times 0.8, right? Multiplied by 80%, or taking a 20% discount minus the repairs. So when I say a discount, it's off of the ARV, but we're taking the repairs off too. So, the holy grail would be to get greater than a 20% discount, right? 25, 30%, maybe even more, but we can make it work at a 20% discount of the ARV minus the repairs.
Got it. Okay, good. Got your numbers. Good. And you're able to find those deals in this market.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have students, Billy, that work full-time jobs, and they don't necessarily want to, create this big marketing engine and hire people to run acquisitions and spend a bunch of money. And the beautiful thing is that you don't have to do all those things. You can actually piggyback off other investors and other wholesalers. And in fact, we probably buy about 1/3 of our deals right now from other wholesalers and other investors in our market. The other 2/3 we source ourselves from direct to seller marketing, or from referrals from, friends, family, agents, so on and so forth. But 1/3 of our deals come from other wholesalers. So you don't necessarily have to go build this big machine that does marketing. However, I always encourage my students to do so, because once you learn how to find sellers directly, direct to seller marketing, and learn how to find these deals, you can do a lot of things with real estate, right? You can wholesale those deals. You can fix and flip those deals, or you can do my personal favorite, use the BRRRR method to acquire assets and acquire these rental properties with very little to no money. But the whole thing starts by finding discounted properties. So either you do the marketing direct to seller yourself, or you can piggyback off of other investors. We don't like buying properties off of the MLS for multiple reasons, but the main reason, Billy, is because we're paying full retail typically. Even if we get it at a discount, that sale price is now recorded, and the appraisal is going to typically be pretty similar to that number because it's recorded. So everything we try to do is off market
deals. How are you going about financing the initial purchase on the property? What does that look like?
I love it. So let's take it back. You asked a question. How do we do these deals with no money? So number one is direct to seller marketing or piggybacking off wholesalers. But the objective is to buy at a discount, right? That's really where this starts. Well, in order to do it with no money, right, or little to no money, I'm borrowing from private and hard money lenders for my acquisition. So whenever I locate a discounted property, I go talk to a private lender or a hard money lender that I have a relationship with, and I borrow not only the purchase price, but the rehab cost too. So I'm leveraging other people's money to get into these deals. Then what we do is the next step. You have B with 4 R's. So B is the buy. The next step is rehab.
Wait,
we're rehabbing these
on the front end when you're financing. None of your own cash in the front end, right? You're borrowing and
100% of it. 100% we're borrowing other people's money. We're leveraging private and hard money lenders. Yep. And we're finding deals.
Some of the listeners are going to say, David, how is a lender giving you 100% on the property? Are you borrowing 100% from private lenders, or are you going traditional like a rehab lender and then marrying a private lender with them for the down payment money and the construction costs?
All of the above, whatever we have to do to get creative. Ideally, we can get the purchase and the rehab from one person. And the longer you're in this business and the more relationships that you can build and strengthen, the better. So some of my lenders, that's an excellent question, will say, well, we'll only lend 70 or 80%, of the purchase price, or we'll give you 100% of the purchase price and no rehab. So sometimes I'm having to marry multiple people together to get it done. But most of the time, I have such great relationships with my lenders, and I have such, I have experience from doing this so many times that they say, hey, no problem. We'll lend you 100% of purchase and 100% of rehab. And, that comes typically with experience.
Yeah. And so that's to the listeners who don't have experience. I don't want you to think, well, David Dodge is killing it. He's done 200 deals and 700 over the last lifetime. He has these connections. If you don't have the connections, you got to get fucking creative. He said, if he can't get all the money from one lender, he'll go to one lender for 70% and he'll go to a private lender for the gap money. He'll marry the two together. In essence, go into this deal with zero money down.
Yeah. Or I'll borrow the purchase and I'll use some of my own money to do the rehab. But again, ideally, I don't use any of my own money. And there's a reason for that. And we'll talk about that when we get to the refinance section. But whatever you got to do to get into the deal, sometimes you got to get creative. Love that.
That's the bottom line. All right. So you're at that point. You finance the whole property. Then what do you do next? What's the next
so we
step?
buy it with other people's money, ideally all of their money, right? And we're buying discounted deals. It's very, very important that we're buying discounted deals. So next we're going to rehab the property. And there's multiple reasons that we're rehabbing the property. Number one is we're typically buying properties that need rehab, because in order to get a discount on a property, typically the property needs to be distressed or the seller needs to be distressed. So in order to get a really good deal, typically the property needs work. So we go in and we do that work, and we're rehabbing these properties. We're typically spending 20, 25 grand, give or take, on our rehab, sometimes less, sometimes more, but 20 to 25 is a really good number. And by doing that, we're increasing the value of the property, which is going to give it a higher appraisal. We're reducing all of the capital expenditures that we may have on that property, at least for the next, let's say, 5, 7, or 10 years. So we're doing roofs, we're doing windows, we're doing HVACs, we're doing kitchens, we're doing baths, we're doing flooring. If it needs plumbing or electrical, we'll do that as well, right? So we're reducing a lot of the CapEx. We're increasing the value, getting higher appraisals. And then last but not least, the rehab is very, very important, because once the property's been rehabbed, we're able to charge more in rent. We're able to get market rate, or oftentimes set a new market rate for that particular property. But here's the most important part of the rehab. We're reducing the risk of the lender in the end, because if they see that we bought a property and then just rehabbed it, they're going to be much more likely to lend on that property, because we're reducing their risk. If we don't pay them and they have to foreclose and sell that property, Billy, they have a property that's newly renovated. So it's going to be much easier for them to sell. And then additionally, it gives the bank confidence in us and allows them to say, hey, we'll lend on what it appraises for, not what you're all into it for. So just take a second really quick. If you're all into a property for $100,000 and they say, hey, we're going to lend you 80% of what you're all into it for, you're leaving 20% in. And actually the number that you're into, it's kind of irrelevant, because if they're going to give you 80% of what you're all in, no matter what, 20% you're going to have to leave in or bring to the table. Well, if they lend on the appraisal, Billy, and you're already all in at or below 80%, and they're going to lend 80% of what it appraises for, now you can kind of start to see how you're able to do this with little to no money, right? Yeah. So buy at a discount other people's money. Rehab. And I don't do the rehab. I don't swing a hammer. So I'm leveraging the private and hard money lenders on the front side. I'm leveraging general contractors and subcontractors when we're rehabbing the property. And we just do that for multiple reasons, like I mentioned. The next step would be to rent that property out. Either you can do it, or you can go out and you can leverage a property manager, which I like to do. Yep. So we'll leverage a property manager, and then we'll go to the bank and we'll say, hey, we already own this asset. We have a private or hard money loan on it. We've rehabbed it and we've got it rented. So by the time we go to the bank, we have already bought the property, already rehabbed the property, and already rented the property. We go to the bank and we say, hey, we got a really, really good product. It's rented, it's cash flowing, it's bringing in money. It is an asset, and we owe somebody else for the purchase and the rehab. We would like to refinance with you. And as long as we meet some minimum requirements with the bank, they will lend on the appraisal. And like I mentioned earlier, Billy, if we can be all in, right, at or below, hopefully below 80% of what it appraises for, and the bank is going to lend 80% of what it appraises for, we can pay back that private or hard money lender and be all into these deals with $0 out of pocket.
I love it. I love it. It's the fastest. I shouldn't say it's the fastest. It's a really creative way to create wealth. It's not a fast deal. I mean, you have to be into this for the long haul doing the BRRRR method. You're not making $50,000 to $100,000 flips, and people need to get that through their heads.
Yep.
You want to have some of those deals in a quick flip to get that money in for cash flow to fuel your business. But in order for you to create wealth, you really need to start investing in long-term assets, whether it's through the BRRRR method, small mixed use, small apartment buildings, whatever the hell it is. The buy and hold strategy is where the wealth's at. The fix and flip and wholesale is where the quick cash is at. In my opinion, you need to marry the two. You can't do one without the other.
Agreed, 100%. So, all the marketing we do, we kind of have a simple strategy within our office and our business. It's buy the best ones and wholesale the rest, right? Yep. Very, very simple. You mentioned small apartment buildings, commercial buildings, and single family homes. We do the BRRRR method with all of these things. So right now I'm working on a 23 unit apartment building. We're using the BRRRR method, and our goal is to be all in with $0 out of pocket when we're done. We did one a couple months ago on a small commercial building as well.
Let me pick your brain on that. Let me pick your brain on that apartment building. So was your analysis similar to a single family for this apartment building, or did you use the cap rate, cash flow? Like, what did that look like for you to do the analysis?
Yeah, so we looked at it a couple different ways, but for the most part, we were able to buy this building at like 65 cents on the dollar. And we knew that after we had rehabbed it, that we would be all in at about 75 to 80% of what it appraised for. Right. So it just worked because we were able to get such a massive discount on it. Yeah, absolutely. And that's like, if I was to say what's the most important part of the BRRRR method, it's buying at a discount. And the reason is there's essentially two strategies within this strategy. There's two things that help us achieve being all in at or below 80%, right? Number one is buying at a discount. Sometimes we can get a 30 or 40% discount, and then boom, it's like we already are way ahead of the game on that side of things. The other thing we do is we rehab the property. But the problem, Billy, is that you can't typically buy a property at a slight discount or no discount and rehab a loan to get that 20% equity. You kind of have to marry the two of buying at a discount and improving the property. And if you do those two things, it's actually not that difficult to be all in at 80% of what it will appraise for.
Dave, talk to us about the takeout lenders, the lenders that are doing the refinance. Are these
absolutely.
Are they small community banks? Are they national lenders? Are they Fannie Mae?
So the majority of who we work with, Billy, are our local lenders. They're local to my market here in town. They're small banks. They're small credit unions. I'm not going to Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo. Those banks are great for checking accounts and maybe savings accounts, right? But they're not necessarily somebody that I want to work with to do a local rental BRRRR portfolio loan for multiple reasons. So I'm using my local banks, my local credit unions. And then more recently, we're actually starting to work with some bigger players that are essentially allowing us to do 30-year fixed rate. So both rate and term, 30 years. And then they end up selling those off, but we get those locked in before they do sell those off, right? So yes and no. We work with the local people a lot. And then more recently, we've started working with some other national lenders as well.
Couple more questions on that. What's the timeline that your local lenders and the national lenders have to have you hold the property before they'll do a cash out refi on the 80%? What's the seasoning period?
Great question. So that's called seasoning, like you mentioned. And some of my banks want me to own the property for 6 months. Some of my banks want to see that it's been rented for 4 to 6 months. And some of my other banks, and here's the key word here, right? That I've built really good, strong relationships with, don't care. As long as it's already purchased, rehabbed, and rented, and I can show them a lease, they will proceed with the refinance.
Damn, off the 80%.
Off the 80%. So I don't want any of the listeners to think that, that they're going to be able to get around seasoning, because I still deal with it, right?
Yeah.
However, this is really, when it comes to lending and banking, relationships matter. So if you build your relationship with your local bank or credit union, over time, they will release or ease some of these seasoning requirements. So, typically you're going to have to see 4 to 6 months of either ownership or even renting, like 4 to 6 payments of rent collected. But as you build these relationships, they will remove those, reduce those, or, ideally remove them completely. And once you get through the first couple steps, you can go right to the refi. And that's kind of where we're at this point too.
What about total amount of loans that they'll actually underwrite? Because I know like Fannie Mae, I think it's 10 for the investor side. Is there a certain amount that the local lenders and the national lenders will say, hey, Dave,
that's a great question. So, some banks will have an appetite to lend to rental properties and to landlords like me. Others won't. I really haven't seen any banks that have any requirements or have told me no if I'm already working with them. I'm not getting any loan in my personal name. All of the loans that we get are going through my business, through my LLC. Yep. So there isn't any necessarily requirements like on the federal level or anything like that. It's really up to the bank themselves. Now, I've had banks say, hey, we've had 15 loans with you right now. We need to slow down a little. No problem. But they're not typically saying, hey, we got to cut you off because we just build these relationships and we keep them strong.
I love it, dude. So besides, if somebody wants to get into this and they want to start learning, I know you've been doing this for a while. You came up with a course, right? You started to train people on how do you do this the right way?
I do, man. I love it, man. That's my passion at this point, So I have about 90 units. My portfolio spits off about 20 grand a month. Beautiful. And at this point, I just, I'm going to keep doing the BRRRR method and keep building my portfolio and take that cash flow up to, 50, maybe even $100,000 a month. But my real passion, Billy, at this point is just helping other people buy their first rental property or scale their current properties up to where they can create financial freedom. I mean, Billy, everybody gets into real estate because they want financial freedom. And what we often see is people will go from a 40-hour-a-week job to a 60 or 80 hours, working in or on their business. My goal is to help people actually create financial freedom, and they can do so by owning rental properties and acquiring them with very little to no money.
Yeah. Have them own the properties, not the properties own them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Don't get into real estate to give up all of your time. Get into real estate to create financial freedom. And here's the thing. Ultimately, the goal is time freedom, right? You can't get time freedom without financial freedom. But if you were to ask the average person, hey, what's the goal? They're going to say it's financial freedom. But in reality, what they want is the freedom of time to be able to do what they want. But again, in order to get there, you have to have financial freedom. So by owning rental properties, you can create financial freedom. By using the BRRRR method, you can acquire a lot of rental properties very rapidly. So it's just a tool that we use to acquire assets, and those assets pay us every month, giving us financial freedom, which leads to the holy grail, my friend, time freedom.
Bro, you and I spoke before I came on. I've been away for a month in Puerto Rico, chilling out, enjoying my life, enjoying my girl, and just still the money's coming in on the business side. Things are rocking and rolling, and I'm out having a good time, and I'm enjoying myself. And it's just when you get to that point, I teach people how to start growing and eventually scale. This is the scale part. When you're teaching somebody the BRRRR method on the start side, it's going to take work. It's going to take mind time. It's going to take time to understand the process and how to analyze. But if you get smart with outsourcing a lot of it, like a lot of guys get into this business and they want to do it all. They want to find the properties. They want to fix the properties up themselves. They want to manage the properties themselves. And I'm like, look, you're creating a fucking job for yourself. Like if you're into this, to your point, time freedom and financial freedom, you have to do as much as you can with your mind, but you have to outsource everything else that's going to take up your time so you could spend time, invest time on growing yourself and the business. Otherwise, you're going to be a slave to your business, brother, and you're going to hate life. And I can't tell you how many times we have bought small portfolios of deals from people who are just burned out. They have 15, 20, 30 properties because they do it all themselves. And they're like, the rental business is the worst business. No, you're doing it the wrong fucking way.
Right. 100%. And that's probably one of my favorite reasons why I love the BRRRR method, Billy. Obviously, I like to acquire assets with, little to no money, but I like the BRRRR method because it allows me to leverage so many other moving parts and pieces, right? I'm leveraging the hard and private money, private money investors and hard money lenders, to acquire and rehab these properties. I'm leveraging wholesalers sometimes to also find the deals. I'm leveraging general contractors and subcontractors to go do all the work, right? I don't swing a hammer. I leverage property managers to get them leased and to keep the rent coming in and to manage the tenants. And if there are evictions or headaches, let them deal with those things. And then I leverage my relationships with my local banks, my local credit unions, and even in some of these larger national institutions at this point to help with the refinance process. So leverage is my middle name. It's my best friend. It's what allows me to get into so many deals and to acquire so many assets. And here's the cool part. It's scalable, Billy. You can do multiple of these at the same time. You're not limited to doing just one at a time.
I love it, dude. How could people find out about you, your coaching? Like, just talk about your coaching. What is it? What does it do? Is it an online course? Is it face-to-face? What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's really all the above, man. I have one of the best coaching programs out there, in my opinion. And the reason is I care, man. I really want to see people succeed. So we have a course, multiple courses actually that we give our students. We do 2 calls a week. And then here's the coolest part. A lot of my students love this, right? So what we do is we don't just do 1 call a week. We actually do 2 calls a week. We do calls on Mondays. We do calls on Thursdays. But what we do is we have internal meetings, me, my business partner, and all of our staff and employees. And we get together twice a week for an hour, and we talk through every deal we're doing. If it's a wholesale deal, fix and flip deal, or BRRRR deals. And within BRRRR, you have multiple steps, right? You have the buy and the acquisitions and the rehab, and then the leasing process, and then the refinance process. So twice a week, we go through our entire business, and I let my students attend those meetings. They can come and they can be a fly on the wall. Wow. They can see the decision-making process. They can see the wins and they can also see some of the, you know, obstacles that we may be facing, and they love that. So they're invited to be a fly on the wall. And then what we do is we dismiss our team after that hour is over, and then we stay on with our students for an additional hour or even two twice a week to help them in their business and answer questions that they may have about deals that we're doing, instruct, Q&A, all of the above. So yeah, I love helping people, and you know, it's my passion to see people quit their jobs, create financial freedom, and build portfolios of real estate that are spitting off cash flow. You know, assets are the name of the game, Billy. If you don't buy assets, you will never be able to stop trading your time for money. Yeah. So yeah, the program consists of a course. It consists of multiple coaching calls a week. I even let my students attend my internal meetings with my team.
That's value.
So they can see where we're at. And yeah, it's an amazing program. Everybody loves it. If you guys want to learn more about it, the website to book a call or to learn more is wholesalinginc.com/rentals. Very, very simple. wholesalinginc.com/rentals.
I love it, brother. Congrats. Love your energy. Love your enthusiasm. I love the fact that you love to give back. Like, it shows, it's coming out of you. Like, it radiates the fact that you really do fucking care, bro. Like, you care. I've known you for 3 years. You definitely care. You're not one of these guys like just trying to put the money in your pocket.
So, oh yeah. And additionally, I forgot, we also have a Slack channel. So I give my students, you know, 24/7 support. Obviously, if I'm sleeping, I'll get back to you right away. Right. But if there's something that comes up between 2 calls a week that they need help with, we have built out an amazing community where not only can they get access to both me and my business partner, but access to my team and the other students in the community. So everybody's collaborating, everybody's helping each other. And again, man, I mean, it's one of these things where, you know, I don't have to coach. I do pretty well with my real estate business, but I do it because I like to help people. And one of the things that I don't want people to do is, like I mentioned earlier, I don't want them to go quit their job. That's a 40-hour-a-week job to then go work 60, 70, 80 hours in their real estate business. I want to show them a better way, a way that they can start buying assets. And if they use the BRRRR method and they follow, you know, the way we do it, you're able to do it with little to no money. In fact, the majority of the deals that we're adding, the assets, the rentals, we're all in for $0 in the end, Billy. It's an amazing strategy.
Bro, love it. You brought it. You gave some great value. I know there's going to be some people that are going to be hitting you up for this. Congrats on your success. And I'm definitely going to see you. Stay on after we get off. I just want to talk to you a little bit. Peace out, brother.
You got it, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yep.